I don't think they're going to be able to come up with a solution set to combat us. Um, Nothing that's ever been used before. They might try to invent something new, but the technology is out there. Most of the technology is privately owned, is privately based, is smaller companies that share information anyway, or some guy works at uh, a major, corporation, and then he leaves and goes and starts his own small business, and he might have a more altruistic nature than the company he used to work for. And so we'll tap into that guy. He's going to know the same things. He's going to have the same knowledge base, but he's going to be the altruistic one, not the corporate entity that's, you know, the bastard. So I think that's one of those bridges we'll have to cross when we get to it. Unfortunately, I really can't give a hard answer.
Mr. Killmoney on chat asks, I have to sign off soon, but I want to ask if it is recommendable to pitch the Venus Project to politicians or corporations.
No, I really don't think it is. I mean, politicians are nothing more, are at the handles of corporations anyway, and corporations only have their self-interest of making more money. And why the hell would they support an organization that is trying to get rid of money and completely restructure society and remove their power base? And well, Kelly actually said something very good. Only if they can make money off of it. They'll only support something that they can generate a revenue from. We are anti-revenue, and so we're worse than a tax write-off. And so when it comes to that, it really doesn't. I don't think it would make any difference with them. There are some companies, smaller ones, that I think would be interested in, if nothing else, donating. But I don't think you're going to go to your GEs and your AT&Ts and your Verizons and your even Google, for crying out loud, and really get them to jump on board with this. I just don't think so. And local government might be more receptive, but federal government seems to be grabbing more and more and more away from local governments, especially in the United States, where it's kind of almost turning into a fascist dictatorship of a two-party system. And so, I don't see a lot of benefit in it. I think the best thing that we can do is focus on the city, build it, and show it off and prove it. And then nobody can argue after that. I mean, once the proof is in the pudding, once they have a system they can see and interact with and visit and live in and deal with and touch, feel, taste, smell, once you've gone past words, we win. It's just that simple. We win after that point. And so that's why my focus is really on that. Keith is asking, I hope that answers your question. I'm going to shift over to Keith really quick, who has a big thing before he leaves. Let me read it real quick. Doug, before I leave, I just want to say a very full and practical understanding of the Venus Project and how we apply it to the real world. I appreciate your grounded and realistic perspective. It is exactly the type of positive point of view that all true supporters of the Venus Project could cultivate and maintain as we continue to work towards the sustainable future. Thank you very much for joining us on T-Speak tonight. Oh, it's a thank you. Okay. I thought it was a question. All right. Well, thank you, Keith. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. And I also appreciate this kind of venue. I hate Facebook thread debates. I hate online thread debates in general. Real conversations with real people is tremendously more beneficial and faster in disseminating this information than doing stuff online. I get roped into doing stuff online too, I know, but it's hard to have conversations with people and convey proper messages over the course of 3 days of back and forth in a thread. So thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. It was really good.
Thank you, Douglas.
Okay, cool. So I think I had one more question. It actually slipped my mind. Anybody else?
I see Tizak said something. Let me read it real quick, what he typed. Well, I see what you said, Tizak, and I agree and disagree at the same time. I think the power elite are only as powerful as we let them be. There are a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them, and they derive their power by controlling us in the first place. And so if we turn that right back around and say, piss off, then I think that takes all that away. I mean, what can they hold over you? Even militaries are, like, for example, the United States military. It's a volunteer organization. if you can tell, well, no, not telling. I'm not saying piss off directly to their face. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is by abstaining from their system, by pulling out, by passively pulling out and doing something else, you're effectively telling them to bugger off, and they're going to lose all of their power and control. Um, and so, like I said, this is an evolution, not a revolution. We just slowly pull out of using the monetary system bit by bit, and they start losing control, losing control, losing control, especially when the masses start seeing it work, and then they all want to go do it too. And then it's a flood after that point. And then then the elite won't have a choice, because then you're going to have billions of people wanting to go over. And so, but back to like my military thing, they're all volunteers. The majority of the United States military are lower middle class people who don't have major accesses to education and things of that nature. And so, when if you were to pose to them, well, do you want to attack this peaceful city, or do you want to join it? And bring your whole family and everybody live a high quality of life and stuff. You give those kinds of choices to people where they actually have a better option. Right now they don't, and that's the problem. If we can provide that better option, even as an example, a real example that they can go visit, that changes their mindset. They go from, thinking, this is all I've got and I'm just going to do it, to, wow, there really is something better. I want to go towards that. That's where you start breaking down this quote-unquote elite and their power and control that we basically give to them. Somebody said, what was it? But will it work if the masses aren't involved? To what level? Will it work as in will the entire transition is the masses. The global shift is the masses. They have to be involved because it's their daily lives. It's their existence that is in the balance here. And so that is masses. As far as the initial test city and stuff like that, no, that's not the masses. We don't need the masses. We need to show the masses how it works. And so there's the difference between the two.
Sorry, but when you're trying to get the masses motivated and moving, you mentioned that you have to lead by example. But I fear that the effect of the example isn't enough to make a difference. Like, you can't show the masses anything. Like, you need the masses with that mindset to make it happen.
That's kind of a chicken or the egg argument, I think. And we're never going to know till we do it. I mean, we're talking a lot about the movement, but you get a lot of people who ask, well, what if, and what if, and what if, and they don't. They do this, well, I like what you're saying, but and you keep throwing out these buts. Whereas if we build a test city and actually prove ourselves, we can say, well, there's all your buts answered right there. See, it's working. And then once people see that it's working, you can convince some people with words. The rest you need to convince with proof and actions. And I think that's that's the chicken and the egg thing. How do we get the masses? I think it's both. It's both at the same time. You throw the chicken and the egg at them. You basically you do the words and the talk, and you show the scientific studies, which is what we're doing now. We try to do our best to give information to the members so that they could have informed, well-reasoned, and supported arguments against all manner of questions that we can possibly come up with. And then also, at the exact same time, we start proving with existing systems and show that it physically does work. I think both together, that's pretty much the two ways you convince people of anything. You either tell them or you show them. And if you can do both at the same time and they're both effective, then there's no way they can say you're full of crap because you're proving it. So that's kind of why I think that's how you get the masses. Unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. Is that what you're saying, or are you thinking about something else? Yeah, exactly. Just like Dora just said, it's a global, technologically advanced, socio-economic shift of show and tell.
And I find that you have to relate to people with where they're at and what they know. So, I mean, people, when you talk like resource-based economy to people, they say, that'll never happen. And I say, well, when you were a kid, You know, did you have to worry about money when you were in your house? You know, you just went and grabbed food or whatever. You know, did you have to get a job when you were 3 years old to pay for your clothes? You know, at some point we have experienced a type of resource-based economy.
Really, it would just be living like the Native Americans, but with high-tech gadgets. That's really about it.